15,000 prisoners of war, 30,000 eyes, and a single order so precise, so methodical, it feels less like rage and more like administration. Imagine the line. Defeated men stretching for kilometers, wrists bound, mouths dry, feet shuffling through dust and blood. They are not dead. They are alive long enough to understand what is about to happen, long enough to beg, long enough to hear the first screams and realize those screams will not stop. Out of every 100 men, 99 are blinded. The 100th keeps one eye, not as mercy, but as a tool, so the blind can be marched home. A living convoy of horror, engineered to travel across mountains and into the mind of one man. This was not a sadistic legend invented by later storytellers. This was political calculation. It was the masterpiece of Emperor Basil II, the man history would call the Bulgar Slayer. But that title wasn't earned in an afternoon. It was earned across decades, through humiliation, betrayal, and a vow that turned a palace-born emperor into a soldier who no longer needed applause. To understand why Basil chose blindness instead of death, you have to understand what broke inside him first. You have to start with the moment he learned that in an empire, the most dangerous enemy is often not the one beyond the border, but the one smiling beside your throne. The year is 976. Constantinople glitters like a dream. Marble, incense, silk, gold. Basil wears the crown of Rome's eastern heir, but he is not the master of his own empire. The true owners are the generals, aristocrats, and court power brokers who treat him like a decorative seal on documents they already decided. Basil lives surrounded by luxury, yet he is a prisoner in his own palace. He signs what they place before him. He listens to advice that is really command, and slowly he notices the laughter, quiet, confident, cruel, whenever he leaves a room. While the capital plays politics, a warrior rises in the north. Samuel of Bulgaria is not a decadent court noble. He is a commander shaped by mountains and necessity, and he is tearing the Byzantine frontier apart piece by piece. Cities fall, provinces break away, fortresses that once flew Roman banners now answer to Bulgaria. Samuel does not seek tribute, he seeks territory. He seeks to replace Byzantium as the dominant power in the Balkans, and the empire's own generals, men who should be marching, hesitate. Some are cautious, some are corrupt. Some are simply waiting for Basil to fail so they can claim the throne themselves. Basil looks around his court and realizes it is a nest of vipers. If he wants to survive, if he wants the empire to survive, he can trust no one. So Basil makes a decision that makes the palace laugh out loud. He decides he will lead the army himself. It is 986. Basil gathers a massive force, one of the largest the capital has seen in years. His target is Serdica, modern Sofia, a strategic heart of Bulgarian logistics. Veteran commanders warn him, the terrain is mountainous, the supply lines fragile, the passes deadly. Basil does not listen. He wants a quick victory. He wants to silence every whisper that calls him a child. The siege of Serdica becomes humiliation in slow motion. Days stretch into weeks. Frontal assaults fail. Men die for nothing. Food runs low. Morale leaks away like water through cracked clay. And Samuel waits. He doesn't need to storm the camp. He only needs to let Basil's impatience do the work. On August 17, 986, the Byzantine army withdraws, tired, frustrated, exposed. They enter a narrow pass known as Trajan's Gate. It is a natural funnel, rock walls rising on both sides, the road compressing the column until it becomes a single, vulnerable artery. Then the sky darkens, not with clouds, but with arrows. Bulgarian forces appear on the ridges. Boulders roll down, crushing horses and men, turning the defile into a slaughterhouse. Chaos becomes total. Orders are swallowed by screams. Units collide. Soldiers trample each other to escape. And Basil, God's emperor, Rome's heir, finds himself running for his life, mud and blood coating the silk that once separated him from war. He survives because a handful of guards, many of them Armenians, form a wall of bodies around him and drag him out of hell. He escapes to safety, but the victory he wanted has become the most public defeat imaginable. He returns to Constantinople without triumph. There are no parades, only silence, only contempt in the eyes of men who already believed he was unfit. That night, something dies inside Basil. The naive youth who sought glory vanishes. In his place, something colder takes shape. A mind that no longer wants admiration, only control. Basil realizes that if he rules like a palace emperor, he will be eaten alive. The empire is not failing because the borders are weak. The borders are weak because the throne is weak. Then the second disaster comes. Basil's own generals, powerful aristocratic warlords, rise in rebellion. Civil war erupts. Basil is boxed in. Bulgarians press from the north, rebels from within, and courtiers watch like gamblers deciding when to place their bets. This is where Basil becomes Basil. He does not bargain. He does not plead. He does not try to charm the men who despise him. He changes the terms of power itself. He stops living like an emperor and begins living like a soldier monk. He rejects luxury. He trains with the sword until his hands bleed. He sleeps little. He distrusts everyone. He makes his body a tool. His will becomes a discipline. And then he makes a move so shocking it resets the political map of the empire. He contacts Vladimir of Kiev, a northern ruler whose warriors are famous for brutality, and offers something almost unthinkable: a purple-born Byzantine princess in marriage. In exchange, he demands soldiers, 6,000 of them. Viking giants armed with axes, men loyal not to Constantinople's aristocrats, but to the emperor who pays them, the Varangian Guard. With those axemen at his back, Basil crushes the internal rebellions. There is no mercy for men who tried to use the empire as personal property. The heads of rebel generals end up displayed like warnings. Basil secures his throne with fear, not the chaotic fear of panic, but the organized fear of inevitability. And once his throne is secure, Basil turns his gaze north toward Samuel. He no longer wants a quick victory. He wants Bulgaria erased. What follows is not a campaign, it is a decades-long hunt. Basil breaks the calendar. The medieval rule is simple. When winter arrives, war stops. Roads turn to mud, horses freeze, supplies rot. Kings return to castles and wait for spring. Basil refuses. He marches across frozen rivers, besieges fortresses under hailstorms, strikes when his enemies are harvesting, when they are sleeping, when they are sure no sensible man would attack. This is how he changes the war, by removing rest. Samuel's kingdom begins to feel like a man drowning slowly. Every month brings another siege, another garrison cut off, another province pressured. Samuel, once the predator of the mountains, becomes prey. He spends years reacting, retreating, improvising. Basil doesn't just attack walls, he attacks morale. He bribes governors, sends fake letters, sows suspicion, makes Bulgarian commanders wonder who among them is already bought. And fear does what armies cannot. it corrodes from within. By 1014, the war has reached a point of exhaustion. Samuel knows Basil will come. He knows Basil cannot be reasoned with, cannot be distracted, cannot be waited out. So Samuel prepares the ultimate trap, a colossal fortification across the Struma Valley near a place remembered as Kleidion. It is not a simple barricade. It is a massive wall of wood and earth closing the entire valley, flanked by towers and defended by archers and slingers. If Basil attacks head-on, the wall will eat him. If Basil retreats, it becomes a moral victory that might restore Bulgarian confidence. When Basil arrives, the valley is silent except for wind and the creaking of timber. His generals remember Trajan's Gate like a nightmare. They can almost see their younger selves dying in a pass. They warn him, they plead for caution. Basil studies the wall and understands what it means. A frontal assault will be costly. Then Basil orders the attack anyway. Roman troops surge forward into arrows and stones. Men die against the barrier. The Bulgarians roar in triumph. Somewhere behind the lines, Samuel hears the news and feels fate smiling again. Had he stopped the monster? Was history repeating? In the Byzantine camp, the mood turns dark. Soldiers mutter. Officers stare into fires, seeing ghosts. Basil walks among the tents with sleepless eyes. He cannot retreat. Retreat would mean admitting Samuel is superior. Retreat would resurrect the laughter in Constantinople. And Basil is no longer the boy who can survive humiliation. So he chooses the only way forward. If you cannot break the door, you find the window. He summons one of his most trusted commanders, Nikephoros Xiphias. The mission is impossible. Take a detachment and climb the mountains that flank the valley, bypass the wall, and strike the Bulgarian rear. There are no paths. The slopes are steep, forested, and in places nearly vertical. Samuel did not fortify them for one reason. No one should be able to climb there in armor. But Basil's empire has been training for impossible for decades. Under cover of darkness, Xiphias and his men begin the ascent. It is an agonizing climb. Every step risks a slip, a noise, a sentry's shout. They are isolated above enemy territory, hanging on a mountain like a knife blade. If they are discovered, they are dead. If they lose their way, they are dead. If they reach the crest too late, Basil's frontal assaults might collapse before the trap springs. Down in the valley, Basil continues to hammer the wall, feeding the Bulgarians exactly what they want, a spectacle of Roman soldiers dying uselessly. The defenders crowd the barrier, laughing, roaring, fixated on the front. All their eyes are forward. No one looks toward the ridgeline behind them. No one expects danger from the impossible slopes. Then the impossible speaks. A sound rolls down from the mountain, war horns where no army should exist. Bulgarian soldiers turn in confusion. The morning sun blinds them, and in that moment they see the nightmare. Roman troops descending from the heights, charging downhill into their rear with the force of an avalanche. Panic is the deadliest weapon in war. It kills faster than steel because it kills the mind first. A cry spreads through Bulgarian ranks like fire. They're behind us. The trail. Encirclement. The wall's defenders abandon their posts to face the rear threat. The moment their formation loosens, Basil sees the opening. He surges. The main Byzantine force roars forward. The palisade breaks. Roman troops pour through the gap like a tide of iron. The Bulgarians are trapped between Xiphias's anvil and Basil's hammer. What follows is not a battle. It is a collapse. Men throw down weapons. They run. They trample each other. The Struma Valley becomes a slaughterhouse in dust and screams. Samuel barely escapes, fleeing to safety and leaving his army behind. He is alive, but the shape of his kingdom has cracked. Still, he clings to one thought. At least many of his soldiers will live. War has rules. Captives are ransomed. Prisoners are bargaining chips. Samuel imagines negotiations. He imagines paying gold, land, anything to get his men back. He imagines Basil, for all his ruthlessness, behaving like a ruler. Samuel does not understand who Basil has become. Then Basil gives the order, not to execute, to blind. Blinding 15,000 men is not a fit of temper. It is logistics. It requires fires, iron, guards, time. It is an industrial punishment. Byzantine soldiers, hardened by years of campaigns, hesitate, because killing in battle is one thing, but methodical mutilation is another. It stains the soul in a way even war can't wash clean. Basil's gaze allows no discussion. The prisoners are divided into groups of 100. One by one, they are dragged before braziers. Red-hot iron. The smell of burned flesh rises. The screams fill the valley for hours, then days, becoming a single continuous sound. 99 men in each 100 lose both eyes. To the 100th man, Basil leaves one eye. Not kindness. Function. So the blinded can be marched home. When it is done, Basil does not imprison them, he does not feed them, he does not offer terms. He points north. Go to your king. And so begins the most macabre march in memory. Endless lines of blind men clutching shoulders, stumbling, falling, guided by one-eyed shepherds who can barely see the path through their own tears and blood. They are not an army anymore. They are a message, a living letter designed to be read by a single mind. Samuel waits in his fortress for news. He knows the battle was lost, but he expects envoys, ransom demands, negotiations. Then a column of dust appears on the horizon. His heart leaps. His men are returning, thousands of them. They walk strangely, hesitant, disorganized, but they are alive. For a heartbeat, Samuel dares to believe Basil has shown mercy. Then the first men enter the square. Silence drops like a stone. The soldiers do not look at their king because they cannot. Their faces are masks of scabs and cauterized ruin, empty sockets, blackened lids. A one-eyed guide collapses to his knees and speaks through sobs and blood. Majesty, here are your men. Samuel's body reacts before his mind can. His chest tightens. His breath fails. He is staring at 15,000 living burdens, 15,000 mouths to feed, 15,000 men who will never hold a sword again, never till the land, never defend a wall. This is not only military defeat, it is economic ruin, social collapse, a generation crippled by design. Samuel sways. The great lion of the Balkans who defied Rome for decades collapses in the dust amid the darkness of his own soldiers. The horror does what no spear could do. He suffers a massive stroke. Within days, Samuel is dead. Basil has killed a king from a distance without touching him. News reaches Constantinople like thunder. The court celebrates. Generals toast. They say the war is over. They are wrong. Basil does not smile. He looks at maps, points to the next fortress. Bulgaria is not a man. It is an idea, and Basil intends to erase it at the root. Resistance continues under Samuel's heirs, but fear and exhaustion have eaten the kingdom's spine. Basil moves relentlessly. He bribes, he threatens, he offers titles to nobles who surrender. And because fear is powerful, but greed is faster, betrayals multiply. The Bulgarian elite begins handing over keys in exchange for safety. Fortresses open gates rather than face what happened to the 15,000. Year by year, Basil tightens the net. When the final Bulgarian leadership collapses, Basil advances into a capital that no longer fights. He finds open gates, kneeling nobles, submission performed like ritual. The empire's border returns to the Danube. Basil has done what no one believed possible. And yet, the most revealing part of the story is what happens after. Constantinople prepares triumph. Flowers, incense, crowds shouting his name. Basil rides through the Golden Gate on a white horse wearing purple he rarely allows himself. The people see a savior. If they looked into his eyes closely, they would see something else. Indifference. Not joy, not warmth. A man who trained himself to feel nothing that could be used against him. Because Basil knows conquest is only half the war. The other half is internal. While he fought in snow and dust, the aristocracy at home grew rich, devouring peasant lands, dodging taxes, weakening the very recruitment base that fed the army. Basil returns and turns his coldest weapon on them. Policy backed by fear. He forces the rich to pay taxes for the poor. He confiscates illegal estates. He ruins families with ink and seals, the same way he ruined armies with steel. The people love him. The soldiers worship him. The elite hate him with a patient hatred. Basil dies without an heir, and that is the final irony. He built a machine so centralized, so dependent on his will, that only he could operate it. When he is gone, the court vultures return. Laws are repealed, land is swallowed again, the army hollows out, enemies smell weakness. And history leaves you with a question that still burns. Was Basil's cruelty a flaw, or was it the price of survival? 15,000 blinded men marched through the Balkans like an answer written in darkness. Basil II's coldest weapon wasn't the sword. It was fear, shaped into strategy, sharpened into policy, and sent across mountains to kill a king in his own courtyard.